the Tuesday, June 25th, 2019, Town of Rockport Board of Selectmen's meeting to order. If everyone could please rise and join me for a Pledge of Allegiance and moment of silence. Pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay. We have a special presentation this evening. First, we have public comment, which we will do, and then anyone for public comment? Now's your chance. No complaints. Dogs on the beaches, alcohol.
Selectmen.
Selectman Murphy in particular. Okie doke. Great. Well, that was pleasant.
There we go.
Moving on. I think probably most importantly on our agenda tonight is a recognition of retiring Assistant Fire Chief John, but I'm going to say Jack, obviously, Jack Porter. I would like to, if Jack could come up and stand, I would like to read, we could all stand if that's okay.
Sure.
Yes.
I'd like to read a resolution of appreciation from the town. Whereas Jack Porter joined the fire department on September 8th, 1980, and whereas Jack became a regular member on October 8th, 1984, and whereas he became clerk of the Sandy Bay Engine Company on January 1st, 1990, and whereas he became a lieutenant of the Sandy Bay Engine Company on January 1st, 1994, and whereas he became a captain of the Sandy Bay Engine Company on January 1st, 2000, and whereas he became an assistant fire chief in November of 2009, and whereas he has been active in the Rockport Firemen's Association, carrying out the work of this benevolent group, including as vice president from 1990 to 1991, and whereas he was a founder of the Sheldon Knowles Memorial Scholarship Fund, which has provided thousands of dollars in support to students since its inception 20 years ago. Now therefore be it resolved that we, the members of the Rockport Board of Selectmen of the town of Rockport, Massachusetts, on this 25th day of June 2019, do hereby adopt this resolution of appreciation in honor of Jack Porter on behalf of all of the citizens of Rockport for his outstanding service to the town, and that a copy of this resolution be kept as a part of our permanent government records. Signed, Sarah J. Wilkinson, Donald J. Campbell, Paul F. Murphy, Denise Donnelly, and Ruth C. George. Would you like to speak?
Yeah, it's just maybe 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Should we
The floor is
sit?
all yours.
Should we sit?
Those are 3 minutes, right?
Yeah.
Thank you all. It's been a heck of a ride, a lot of fun. John Doyle, closest friend, great. My wife, my son, all these people. Thanks.
Special.
Thank you.
Just on a personal note, you know, I've been on the board, I think close to 12 years, 11 or 12 years, and the pride that this town has for its fire department and your leadership is just, people, you know, occasionally we'll be at selectmen conferences or meetings up the line, as we say, and people are like, oh, you have a volunteer fire department, is that kind of a joke? Or, you know, people say things, and I'm like, we could not be prouder of our fire department and the members, and they truly represent the citizens of the town and keeping them safe.
They certainly do.
So thank you all. Chief Doyle, did you want to say something?
Yes. Been on the fire, thank you. I've been on the fire department
For over 40 years. I was on when Jack got on 1980, and it was a privilege to have on the fire department. We went for our families, we went out every weekend, we found a muster to go to, we just had a great time on the fire department. And Assistant Chief Keating, he was on the same company with us. He came with us, families, we found things to do. I went from lieutenant to captain, Jack went from lieutenant right after I went in to captain, to the Board of Engineers. Same thing with Assistant Chief Keating, he came right up through lieutenant to assistant chief. And it's been a quick 40 years though.
Sure,
We've had a great time doing it, and it's been a privilege with you. It's a great time.
You know, looking at the fire department, looking at the ceremony you just had, it's very, very apparent that it's not just a fire department, it's a family. That these people that dedicate their lives like you have in the name of public service, it's a debt that can never be repaid. So thank you for everything you've done, and wherever you're going, I wish you well for whatever you do. Not leaving town, we don't want you to go anywhere. We want you to stay right here. There you go. That's it, but thank you for everything that you've done.
Thank you very much.
Anyone else on the board want to say anything? Thank you. Okay, I will hand you these. You can frame these.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thanks for everything.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for everything.
Congratulations, Jack.
And then I think Mitch wants.
Thank you.
Mitch, did you want to say something as well?
Just, yeah, before you go down, Chief, I think I've had the opportunity to work with a lot of folks over the last few years here in town. And Chief Porter has truly been the definition of a public servant and his dedication to the community. And you know, certainly that's evidenced by the people who are here to support you. If you look around in the room, many members of the department are here. Your fellow public safety chiefs are here from Harbor, ambulance, police, and members of the community. So you truly have been an asset to the department. We will miss you tremendously. You've done wonders in the engineer's office, and you've been part of a great team. You've done a fantastic job, and thank you also to Kathy. 40 years of
Yes.
service as well.
We're lucky, and these guys all have big shoes to fill. Go ahead. Thank you, everyone.
That's great. That's wonderful.
Great.
That's awesome.
We can take a 1 minute break.
Yeah, you
if
wanna give them
Yeah. Selectmen, Building Study Committee, DPW Commissioners, and Finance Committee. So maybe people could pull chairs up to that table and front row, kind of. Does that make sense? Great. FinCom. Okay. Oh, yeah. Oh, the door. Yeah. Yeah. You know, somebody can even come around the side, Bruce. Oh, perfect. You guys going to sit there? Great. Perfect. Lorene, June, do you want to join them at the table up here? Lorene, June? Great. Yeah, great. Perfect.
We'll separate you two, or do you want to join together?
Sounds like a plan.
Great. Welcome. Thanks everyone for coming. I know that it's less than ideal on a summer night, even though it's not a beautiful summer night. But so we had the pleasure of meeting with the Building Study Committee last week and seeing their amazing presentation of all the work they've done. First, we'll just focus on DPW facility. Does that make sense? seeing all the work that they've done on that. And then in a minute, maybe Monica or one of you can just go over kind of the numbers again. So I think that after kind of going over everything with Mitch, and Mitch, you can correct me if I'm wrong, that there are kind of a few steps that have to happen from here. I was thinking that it would be a good opportunity to kind of start fresh in terms of the town process with regards to the DPW facility. So I would love, if everyone is inclined, for Selectmen, Building Study Committee Commissioners, and FinCom to, everyone's posted, right, for meeting this evening?
I think so.
Okay, so it would be, if people are so inclined, at the end or at some point, to do a vote in favor of, whatever we agree to, so that we can basically almost have a statement saying the following, committees in town have voted, in favor of supporting this project. And then from there, it's kind of onward and upward. So I was thinking of kind of trying to get to that point this evening. So maybe in a few minutes, you three can go over the numbers again and kind of where at the end of the presentation from last week. And then we can have a discussion with kind of DPW FinCom about, where we go from here in terms of numbers. I think Carrie has some information to share, right? And then from there, it almost, if we are all in support of moving the project forward, then it almost gets turned over like a campaign, obviously, to people who will then campaign for it, obviously outside of our meetings in public. Does that make sense? Oh, you don't have a quorum? Okay, do you think you're gonna get one? Okay, great, so we can start, we just will make, obviously not vote, and neither does Bruce. Okay, is anyone else coming or just you?
I think it's gonna be just me.
Okay, oh, that's three, is that, yeah, oh, you need 4, right?
5.
You need 5, okay, okay. Well, 3 is
If you
better than
almost-
2.
Yeah, building committee wants to start.
Yeah,
Okay,
great.
that's-
Yeah, so we can get going, obviously, just can't vote. And does that make sense to the board?
Yes.
In terms of a plan?
That's fine.
Okay, great. So, Monica, Kate, Jeff, would you guys like to start? Would you guys like to start?
Okay. Basically, we have given presentations to both the Selectmen and the FinCom, and we've been involved in meetings with the DPW. We looked at this project very, very carefully over the course of the past several months in great detail, asked many questions, looked at a number of alternative approaches, trying to get the cost down or make sure that we were getting what we needed at the best possible price. And as it turned out, we came back around to the proposal that has been on the table for the past several years, since 2016, a proposal that had already been very vetted and trimmed, scaled back to the essential needs of the town. And we unanimously and very strongly felt that proposal would best meet the needs, not just of the DPW, but the town as a whole. We did look at possible enhancements to that building, and we did agree on 2 enhancements that would be beneficial, and we set aside 4 others that we felt could be done at a later period of time. And the bottom line, that proposal came in at a cost estimate with our 2 enhancements of fitting out the administrative space for DPW, fitting out the canopy for the DPW staff, and shifting the building down Nugent Stretch to open up more parking. Including those 2 add-ons, the total figure would be $12,224,765.50. But that is basically the bottom line figure, a little bit over 12 million. And it's important to realize that the costs of construction have been escalating at a very rapid rate. Last week, Weston and Sampson went over those cost escalation figures again, which over the past several years have been in excess of 6-7% per year. So it has gone up considerably since 2016. I won't say exactly how much because it's the sticker shock is just it's painful, and there is no sign of any abatement in construction pricing. The market is not cooling whatsoever, and even if it were to start cooling next year, the reality of the construction world is that there is always a lag time, a significant, like 1 to 2 year lag time before bid prices start to come down. So we really would not be well served by holding off and waiting for a change in the marketplace because there's no sign of it happening. And that's sort of what we did in the past round, and we're paying the price for that. So we strongly believe that it will be in the best interest of the town to go forward with this proposal, and we don't believe that the town has any options. There is no plan B. And the only plan B is to wait and pay more, which doesn't make any sense at all.
Great. Other
And-
comments from Kate or Jeff? Monica said it all. Jeff, do you want to add anything?
Not right now.
Okay.
Except that we agree, I mean, I agree completely
Yeah.
with what Monica's saying.
We have other
This is
facts,
joint.
we have other facts that we could bring out when the voting is done to try to promote the project more in that regards, to make it clearer
Yeah.
what the costs would be, what the savings would be. But
Yeah. I mean, even the number, I think it was like 228,000
We've done the number again.
in terms of like keeping the equipment
vehicles.
inside,
Yeah, the
right?
vehicle.
Yeah.
I think we were inflated the first time because we assumed all the vehicles, so we
Okay.
pulled that back
Okay.
to what was reasonable vehicle amounts given to us by Rich Souza. And the numbers are pretty high, especially if you go the length of the shortest amount of loan period, which would be 20 years. If the interest is 5 million plus, 7 million plus, 6 million of interest, we're talking about a savings that probably runs in that realm over the life of the, simply by keeping vehicles 3 years longer lifetime.
And that's stuff that I think will be so important
Yeah.
to,
And we, as he said, we have tightened up those numbers.
Great.
Now we have real figures.
that you're
for
comfortable,
those.
that you're comfortable.
Yeah.
Paul, did you have a question?
No, I was just mentioning, I think that I should mention, that I think it's important going forward that we explain how much money it's going to be more
Yeah.
this time than last time, because it's not going to get any cheaper. There is no Plan B. And again, something awful is going to happen up there because of the lack of facilities. So I think moving forward with the campaign, people need to know how much more this time it was than the last time it was defeated. Yeah, and that needs to be
Which
pointed out.
we knew that, you
Yes.
know.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, I think the, voters who didn't, it was sticker shock the first time, and it was, people weren't educated enough in terms of, here's here's kind of the whole thing laid out. I think if you were someone who came to meetings and saw it all on paper, you understood. Or, for example, most people I know who went up and got a tour of the facility understood. But, for the average voter who doesn't do all that, you're just kind of like, whoa, $10 million.
And there was a campaign to defeat it too. There were many letters to the editor, but that needs to be pointed. $4 million is a lot of money.
It's a lot of money.
And his point about the building in its current condition being an accident waiting to
Yeah.
happen, that has to be underscored.
Absolutely.
We're not making that up
No.
because there are no systems in that building that are in compliance with code.
Yeah.
And that would be devastating to the town.
Yeah, and the town is a responsible employer. We go out of our way to, to hire and attract good employees. And part of that is being responsible and providing like safe and efficient workplaces, and we just are not doing that right now. So we need to step
Yeah.
up.
I think the other thing that you've brought up time and again is that over 47% are mandated upgrades that have to be done, that we are not in compliance with right now in the town. 47% we have to do. So that money
It's
that's
not discretionary.
right. That has to be done.
There's no way to save
Right.
Because it's all mandated.
Right.
And we think that's conservative,
Right.
honestly.
Yep.
Any
Yep.
more questions or comments from the board, or should I move over to
You can go to that.
DPW?
I'll
So,
reserve.
Bruce and Joe, do you guys want to comment at this point? Then we'll move to FinCom.
Yeah, I have a few things to say that, and I'm going to go back a ways. And it's a conversation that Paul and I had not long ago that
You have 5 now.
when the town built the school back in the 80s, the town at that time, the boards in town recognized that you had 3 building projects that needed to be done. One was the schools, one was the police station, and one was the DPW facility. And the town has done 2 of the 3. And, you know, it's time the town now has to take care of the 3rd one. Also, the Board of Commissioners I'm on, it wasn't our idea to build this. That came earlier. Came in about 2005, maybe. They started doing studies and working on this. And the proposed building that was proposed in 2005, and I'm not sure of the year exactly, but when it first started, was a larger building that we are looking at today. Okay, so we tried to shrink it and all that. We've looked at alternative sites. You know, there's a lot of people that say it should be at the dump. Well, it's a cap landfill. It would cost at least $2 million more 3 years ago to build it there than it would today, and where it would be, you know, where we're putting it. So there are a lot of reasons why we got to where we got to. Just this past year, we had a safety engineer that Paul Center was able to get for us to come out and look at the building. And, you know, the first thing he looked at was the walls of the building, and he said, I don't know how much longer this is going to last. He also looked at the overhead, the ceiling. He said, you can't bring it up to compliance because it can't hold it. And if for some reason it did hold it, the walls would collapse. So we know it is an accident waiting to happen. It's just a question of when. It could be 20 years, it could be 50 years, it could be tomorrow morning. You know, you don't know. So it's a project that I think has to be brought to the voters. The key to me, for me anyhow, is that it's so much more expensive than it was 3 years ago. Even next year, what would that be, another million or more? Who knows? But the point is, it's time to do something about that building. We have no choice as a town.
Great. Lorraine, do you?
We have a quorum.
Yay! You have a quorum. Welcome, Paul and Don and Carl. Carl, do you want to move over? Are you good?
Am I fine here?
You're fine. Wherever you.
No, that's fine.
Welcome. So I know Carrie has put some financial stuff together. I don't know if you guys have discussed this at all yet.
We have on a limited basis.
Okay.
So we haven't voted on it yet.
Okay. Does anyone have a comment at this point? Or, Carrie has information? Leisure reading. Great.
Thank you.
Thank
you.
Find in here schedules for 3 different amortization schedules based on either 12 million or 12.25 million. And you'll see exempt service that the town carries currently.
And then we should also add into the discussion, if the town currently has any funds that we could put into this. Jim?
What we've talked about very briefly is the sale of real estate fund that has over 700,000.
Yeah.
We've looked at several of the schedules that Kerry has done. The last one amounted to about $1.1 million per year for 20 years. In order to make this more palatable to the voters and taxpayers, we should try to reduce the total amount of the borrowing if we can. And I would think the sale of real estate fund would be the first thing that we would look at. We don't have a lot of other money
Right.
sitting around.
Yeah. I spoke with Mitch today. Is there a little over 900,000?
So the exact amount as of right now is $918,185.47.
Okay, so a conversation for all of us is how much we'd be comfortable, taking that out.
And I'd like to comment on the design itself.
Sure.
you can't say too many times that it's the code. It's the code requirements, not the hourly wage or anything. It's the code that is driving what we have to build. And the alternative to allow for more space, a little less canopy space and more space for administrative, I think is essential. If we're gonna build it, we should build it flexible enough so that we can move personnel around in the
Which is, I think,
future.
which is what you guys have agreed, which
yeah.
yeah. Great.
So what I wanted to say is, we've discussed it at the finance committee meetings, we have not voted on it yet.
Okay.
But the general consensus was that we supported it upon further study of it.
Okay. Carrie, do you wanna run through this a little bit?
Sure.
Great.
You'll see in the top just our current, debt, and you'll see that it is declining. We typically do, equal declining principal, so those are the particular scenarios that I've included in the packet. You'll notice at the top you see the amount, 12 million or 12.25 million. On the back of each sheet, I've given you the guesstimated tax impact for the Board of Assessors. So what we do here is each year this would change because each year's debt service is the figure that would be plugged into the schedule to figure out what its impact would be for that year. So for instance, on the first sheet, you're seeing 12 million at 20 years. If you look in the back, I've taken basically the first debt service payment due.
Hold on, you're talking too fast for me. Where's the 12 million at 20 years?
Next page,
I also don't have my glasses on.
next page.
Oh, this page. Oh, got it. Okay, cool. Great.
Just to give you correct, just to give you an idea how this is working. So the first year, you're seeing that your fiscal total is 1.1.
1.1.
Yep.
Got it. Okay, cool.
So for that particular year of taxation,
It's on the
so
back.
you plug in the 1.11 million as the override amount, and you'll see the impact on the different assessed values of homes, what that could potentially be.
Perfect.
Then if you wanted to see what it would be the subsequent year, you'd actually have to go back and see what the next year would be 1.064. So then you'll see your second year. So it's not a neat and tidy, like this is what it is every year.
Right.
It's based on the declining
Right.
total for
Right.
each year.
Right.
And you'll see in here, you're going to have 20 years, 25 years, and 30 years for 12 million. And then I bumped it up to 12.25 million for another scenario. So that's basically what's included in this packet.
May I clarify a couple of things?
Absolutely.
So, in a 20-year example, at a current tax rate, which is 35th out of 350 in the state, lowest, right now at $9.86, it would go up only without being
Correct.
subjective, it would go up 49 cents.
Correct.
The first year, the next year, when
You'll have
it'll-
regular,
regular, it'll be a lower amount of, it won't be 1.1 million, so the adjustment,
well, you'll have your regular calculation, which is within the
Yep.
2.5. And that obviously changes year to year based on
Right.
something to give you your rate.
yep.
But if you're looking at the additional expenditure, it is identified in that 49 cents.
And I think that number's a pretty important one to market, because to look at the numbers across, well, either $250,000 home or an $850 home, you could do the math, but to know $9.86 is only gonna go up, it will go up 49 cents, that's,
So for instance, if we carried that debt this year, that's what you would have seen
right.
in addition to the 986.
Okay.
And then you can obviously take this figure and divide it out over 12 months to figure, I think there were scenarios given, it's
It was a
basically
cable bill and a.
$10 a month more or
Right.
that kind of thing to put into real terms monthly.
So if it's amortized out over 30 years, it will change accordingly to how much of the principal is paid down.
Correct.
Okay.
Well, how much debt service
Right.
do that
And
year?
then there's no prepayment penalty, and you can just pay it anytime, if you've got grant money or that type of thing, pay it down.
We tend to we'll get into refunding scenarios. If I find that there's a better interest rate, then I can refinance at a lower rate.
I have a
But that's
question, too.
typically several years into the borrowing.
Lorraine just asked a question, just mentioned something that I wanted to bring up. Have we identified any other sources of possible funding, not obviously for the whole project, but to offset somewhat by way of either grants or anything else? Is there anything else available to us?
We haven't, but I would defer to Joe. I mean,
State funding, grant funding?
Yeah, we've looked at that.
Piggy
Opportunity,
banks.
there isn't any for buildings. You know, that's not where the money is from the state.
all
We couldn't-
projects.
Yeah, it's all seawalls and dams
In schools.
and schools.
But even as a subset of this building in particular, are there facets of it that would qualify? Not the building itself, I get that. But is there anything else that we could look at? I mean, we didn't, you know, when we did the police upgrades for the communication system, we found out after that Gloucester had got some money from the fire department side for funding that they had, and it was by way of a grant. So what I don't want to do is miss a possible opportunity, and maybe we identify it up front, because we have lead time here, so.
Right, is it something, maybe we get a grant consultant for,
From a financing structural perspective, I don't go right up, like, for instance, the day that this is voted, I don't go right up and borrow $12.2 million. This is something that I do based on our expenditure schedule, how much we're spending, and
Yeah.
I'll carry as much as I can. I'll carry the minimum. I don't wanna borrow more than we need when we need it.
Right.
So that's something that we'll carry into, and eventually we get to the point the project is done, depending on how long the term is.
but it could be a couple years before you get to the,
Correct.
okay.
Barry, is there a risk there with, if interest rates go up?
There's obviously a risk, yes, of course.
Because right now we're at historic lows.
It's
I'm
four,
just-
I think we're projecting at 4.25 right now.
Right, but if we go variable on our debt and an interest rate spike, it could end up costing us.
If the town authorizes borrowing at a certain level, say $12 million, just to use a number, that's the number we've authorized to borrow. What happens in the context of cost overruns? Does that apply, or I guess I'm looking for a clear understanding of how the contract would work, the bid would actually work. If it's 12 million and they come in with change orders and what have you, and it ends up at 12.5 or 13, how does that work?
We can't proceed forward until the funding is available for that. So if,
But how do we
if-
project what the final cost will be if we don't know that? I mean,
You-
we have
you-
an idea based
Sure.
upon what it is.
They have
There
a
is a substantial
contingency.
line item for contingencies and cost
It's built in,
overruns
yeah.
in the budget.
Yeah.
And you think that would be sufficient to cover it?
Yeah.
Okay.
June?
On the first page, you can see that there's a considerable drop in the existing debt service that is exempt between fiscal 2023 and 2024. So we would only have 1 or 2 years of paying principal on this before people would see considerable relief, because other debt is going to be paid off. There's a water debt being, that's been paid off. There's a sewer debt that disappears in 2024, and some other police station
Yeah.
goes away in 2024, yay. So the impact, the biggest impact is the first year, but people might pay that amount for 2 years only, and then they would see the tax rate come down because the total debt service that's exempt would be coming down.
Is it, Carrie, I have a question. Aren't we paying mostly interest at the beginning?
Yep.
No, if you look, well, if you look at the schedule, you can see how much you're paying where you're breaking it out. It starts heavy in the beginning, but then it decreases.
So the first few years, so it's like anyone paying interest.
Correct.
Does a municipal loan amortize the same way, say, a home mortgage does?
That's kind of my question to Carrie. That's what I'm trying to get at.
That's-
You know, I know in any loan, you're paying interest. You know, a mortgage, you're probably paying the first 10 years of interest, but not so much in a municipal loan.
Well, no, you are. I mean, your interest is heavier in the beginning and it decreases as you go.
Exactly. So it wouldn't have
So
that
you
much
get the
impact in the
big
beginning.
part of it, right.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
So, Carrie, I have a question. So, on the first one that you talked about, 49 cents tax rate impact on expenditure amount. So the average single-family residence is 647,000, and the tax bill impact would be $317.16. That breaks down to, if I'm right, $6.10 a month for that type of a home.
Not if it's $317 divided by 12.
12. Oh, 12. Okay, I was doing 6. Okay, so 12, but, you know,
Still a
okay.
low number.
Yeah, but still, it's a small amount compared to,
25%
yeah,
roughly, I
yeah,
don't know.
yeah.
Right.
Right,
Right.
yeah, or a cable,
Right.
okay.
Carrie, do you happen to know if the,
I was doing,
given that,
was doing per
I
week.
bet that the value of
Week.
the houses in this town are not
I
in
did
normal
52.
distribution, because we have a lot of very expensive homes. So I'm wondering if that's skewing the average up, and if we use the median number as opposed to an average number, it might just be better for messaging.
Yep,
Yeah.
that would be true,
That's a
yep.
good
That
point.
Yep.
I would defer on the Board of Assessors for that portion of it, they could tell you the distribution of the numbers, whatever, I couldn't speak to that.
But excellent point.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, very
Yeah,
good
yeah.
point.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But what you've done here is good. I mean, you've given what the tax rate is likely to be,
Right.
and then you've given several different, you've given a whole
Super
range.
helpful. I mean, that's what people want to know.
Yeah.
Change, obviously.
Right. People want to literally be able to plug their, right,
Right,
how's it
yep,
going to affect
yep.
me? Exactly, yeah.
Exactly.
And unfortunately, I mean, I know that the homes here are valued high because of where we are, but people here are spoiled by
Yep.
low tax
Yep.
rates.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, there's only so many times
Yep,
you can,
right.
like, people say to me all the time, oh, my tax bill's so high, my tax bill's so high. I'm like, well, the value of your home is high, but our taxes are really low. And then you show them, and like, I had no idea.
Yep,
Like, drive
Yep.
5 minutes inland,
Right.
and
yeah,
we have the lowest tax rate in Essex County, like several years running.
Yep.
But the point is, even on a project like this, is to keep them that way.
right,
And to
yep.
do what we can to
Yep.
keep them as low as we can, because, you know, you talk about this, then you talk about the school that might need some money and all these other things, and a little plus a little equals a lot.
Yep.
So I just want to be very careful about how we proceed with
Yep.
this, that's all.
Yep.
Yeah. So Toby, we'll do public comment at the end, okay? So I think back to
I just want, it's a different topic, about circling back to Dawn's question about grants. And one thing we do know, Dawn, there are companies like National Grid that will get involved with us in the building project. And at least 3 years ago, they were willing to come out and spend time on site with the architects and the builders about how to put in a power plant to make it the most equitable to the town. And so there are companies that will step up and get involved with us along the way, and certainly we'll take advantage of all of that.
I mean, I don't know if, I know Tom, I saw, yeah, Tom's over here, I don't know if Green Community has something, it can play into this in some way. If there's any funding sources available through that, and that's what I'm getting at, because the building I get, we don't have anything there. But the ancillary things that go along with it, electricity, plumbing, all of the things that, the energy cost, maybe we have stuff that we can
I
look at.
do know that 3 years ago, there was no funding. You had to work within the different organizations to get help in different ways.
yeah. But I think
there
it's
was
worth
no
looking into
funding.
again,
Yep.
obviously.
Sure.
I mean, what it was the, Joe, I'm blanking on the DEP program with the lighting that helped us with the lighting, the switch to LED at what was that? The
Gap two.
The Gap 2, right. Do those programs fund any types of this type?
Well, that would be converting existing to new LED, existing old lighting.
Yeah.
To, I don't know that would be the case here with a new building going
Yeah.
up.
I mean, but it's worth-
they did say that there were programs they would work with the architects, engineers to help, design a building that's energy efficient. And perhaps there might be some sort of rebate or funding available, but it's yet to be seen.
Yeah, I mean, because honestly, in my opinion, even if it costs more, I think we want to build the most energy efficient, I mean, really, like, what year is it?
The cost avoidance of going to an energy efficient building, we're not gonna be heating the outdoors anymore.
Right.
So that alone.
Yeah.
That alone
Yeah.
is gonna be, yeah.
Absolutely.
And I believe the building is being constructed in a way that will allow for some solar panels on top. It's not being built with those solar
Right.
panels, but it is being built to accommodate,
Mm-hmm.
and that if the town were, suppose we had some cost savings on this building, we could maybe do that and generate electricity.
So here's a question, why wouldn't is it worth considering building it with them?
That's why I came to the Green Community
I
stuff,
think
I
that
agree with
was,
that.
Right.
that I believe was one of the elements that was, held in abeyance for a future time, trying to scale it back to.
Yeah.
So I don't know what the cost of, but it's being built structurally to accommodate,
Yeah.
but not to install, and we certainly could look at what
Yeah.
it would cost to install.
Yeah.
And whether it's worth it, I mean, it,
Right.
depends on the position of the building
Right.
and the roof.
Yeah,
and-
right. June, did you? have a
Yeah, the solar panels could be a savings in energy and all, but we don't have a grant at the moment in hand. And the fall town meeting and the ballot vote have to deal with the money that is gonna be borrowed.
Right, but we can always end, like
Yeah.
Karen said, but we can always go for the whole amount, you know, and decrease.
No one
what
will
we
ever
have
be
borrowed.
angry with you
I don't
for
think-
collecting
well,
another grant.
I wouldn't say that, June.
Yes, there are people who don't like grants. Here.
In the mechanics of the borrowing, if I had not gone long-term, say for instance, we get this windfall of $2 million grant and it's ours, and what I finally issue will only be what we need, and the delta in that authorization goes away. It's essentially a rescinded borrowing. So if we are able to offset it with some unforeseen amount of money, that ultimate authorization will drop, and I will not borrow the 12 million. Depending on where we are in
Right.
the process, I will only borrow what we actually spend.
Yeah.
Great, okay.
Yep.
So speaking of, funding besides tax, I mean, obviously it's still tax, but, sale of land, sale of real estate fund, what did you say the balance was?
The balance is $918,185.
Okay.
And this is, from looking internally, this would be the option if the board wished to do a withdrawal from that.
Okay, and then we also have,
So we have several other parcels of land that, we'd certainly look to
replenish that account.
to replenish it down the road.
Right.
So
Mhm.
it wouldn't be gone forever, I think, based on some of the other parcels
Yeah, that's a
out
good
there.
possibility.
We could
Yeah.
quickly
Yeah.
refill the account to have it.
Okay.
Yep.
So the question would be, what are we, how much are we comfortable leaving in that account? Basically, or are we comfortable, how much are we comfortable spending out of that account?
Or do we want to look at possibly, taking the money, selling some more land
Well,
to
I think so,
drop
but
it
that
down?
would but I don't, it can't, we don't have time to sell more, build it, and then
Yeah.
use, I think it's kind of a one
We gotta
time.
move now.
Yeah, we have to
Thing,
move
yep.
if we're going to, but then I think the potential
Yeah,
to
we
sell
can
those lots
yeah,
would
replenish it.
replenish that account.
I'd
I-
say 900,000.
Well, but I think, yeah, I think we also had, we had also talked about, in the affordable housing group, allocating some of that money for affordable housing.
Yeah.
So I know we can replenish it, but I don't want to lose sight of
Mhm.
the fact that there are other initiatives that are eyeballing that money.
Yeah. I had mentioned, 750 or 8 to Mitch, which would still leave us, how long does it take us to sell?
So we would
There
look
there
to,
are no houses on those lots, so.
the primary ones that we would look to move for sale on, we'd look to probably get those appraised and then get authorization at the fall town meeting and then get them
So we can
going
move
pretty
forward.
quickly.
Yep.
Okay.
They're in a prime location. I don't want to get into further detail than that at the moment, but they're in a prime location, and I would expect that we would do reasonably well with those parcels.
Yeah, and how many are there?
5, Joe?
Yes, I think so.
Yeah. So that's good potential.
Yeah.
Yeah, very
Yep.
good.
Yeah. Thoughts on that?
Let's move forward.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, I don't, we can sit here and talk all evening, but this has to be done. And
Yeah,
we
I
have to go
guess-
through the process and
My question is, whether we take 750 of the fund or all of it, it's not going to have a material effect, is it, on borrowing?
I mean, it's gonna reduce it.
But not materially.
Like 49 cents
Yeah.
to 47 and a half?
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
Yeah,
yeah.
But I do actually think in terms of
being good
of
stewards.
town, being good
Good
stewards of the
stewards to the
town,
town. I
the
think
town
it's
is,
important to
yeah.
Put
But if
money
we
in
took-
it from
if we
other
took
things.
I mean, would it be a staggered amount? Would you take, say, 300 now, maybe 300 over the course of 3 years, or would you take the whole amount up front? Is there a way that it has to be
If
done?
there'd be any withdrawal, it would just be upfront.
It was just one lump sum up front.
Yes, if there's any, it would be upfront.
And those monies would be spent before I would get into
Eight.
spending borrowed money.
Leave 120 in there.
Okay.
Yeah, if we're gonna replenish it,
We're gonna replenish it.
I don't think that would have that much impact on the vote either, if we put 750 or 900.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like the idea of 750, just to leave, a substantial amount in there, but still
Because
do
we also
something.
don't know what, you know, something else could come up.
Down the road.
Right, yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
Yep.
Do we foresee anything that we may need that money for in between now and then?
Mitch said
Is
he
there
didn't.
anything?
Right
So,
now, there's
besides the
nothing.
housing initiative
Yeah.
that's floating, there is not an,
I think
an
it's-
emergent need beyond that one right now that says we need that.
No water
That fund, exact
filters
funding.
or-
And all that would be the enterprise, and that was kind of one of the
Yeah.
things
Already
that
doing that
Claire and I
one.
workshopped. Is there anything that's not an enterprise expense?
Yeah.
And there's, beyond housing, at the moment, there's
Yeah.
not.
Right,
Right.
yeah.
So I
Well,
think that would be-
there's also roads.
Well, so it
It
can't
can't
go
it can't go
towards.
be used for roads,
that.
right, and it can't be used for conservation
Correct.
land either, I asked that, because I didn't wanna, if, you know,
Yeah.
cause you never know when conservation opportunities are gonna come up for the town, but it can't be used for that either, so it is limited in what we can use it for.
Yep.
I'd like to point out
Sure.
that you do have a dedicated funding source for affordable housing already,
Oh,
to community
Community
preservation.
preservation, right.
Which is just given 470,000
Yeah.
over the last 2.5 years to the Harbor Lights
Harbor
project.
Lights,
So
yep.
you have a funding source for that besides sale of real estate.
Yeah.
Well, there are layers to that. I mean, it's, depends on how you define affordable housing and what group
Right.
you're targeting.
Right.
and- Yeah.
Right.
That's,
And
yeah,
it's not all for Rockport residents and.
right. I think what we start talking about is a little different than
Yeah.
what they're,
Right.
so, thoughts from?
No, I think it shows that we're good stewards to the town, that we're using some other money. We're not just using, you know, raising taxes. We're using some money that we have to put towards it to lower things, and I think that's important.
Yeah. Lorraine, do you guys want to kind of convene and discuss it? With
Yeah.
this, great. Oh, yeah, you just have to stay in here.
Mean to the corner.
Yeah, but you can sit, you can enjoy that corner.
Bruce will convene right here.
Yeah, just if we support the, you know, moving
Right,
forward
right.
with
Just a
the
vote of
process.
support. It's
Yeah.
not a vote
Yes.
for you.
No, it's just a vote of support, right, Mitch? Can you draft it? Yeah.
The final,
'Cause I
So we're
just-
not committed to that.
so the vote would be to support the project. The board would need to take another official vote to put an article on the warrant. So if the board does vote this evening, it's more of moving the project forward and making a commitment.
No,
to
no, I get
moving
that,
it.
but I'm talking about the the 750,000 or whatever that amount
Each
turns out to
separate
be.
No, you
the
can
Does
change
that
that.
get voted
No, we
on?
stand behind it.
If the
No.
board wants
Instead
to
of
pick a
these
number
kind of,
tonight, if not,
you know,
it doesn't need
have-
to.
Right.
It would need
honestly,
to
I don't think
pick
we
it
should.
before the,
And I
before we
think
set the
unless
warrant
we
though.
all vote
Because it'll
support it,
offset.
then it's not worth
So
going
it
to
would
Cost
be
in the
easier and
motion.
cleaner if it was
Well,
picked
that's
tonight, is that what, is that right?
It doesn't have to necessarily be tonight, but it needs to be picked before August.
What does?
All right.
The amount of money, if a withdrawal is made from the real estate account, it does need to be
Choose
made.
that
You
tonight.
don't
We
have
can
to
keep
choose it
talking
tonight.
about that.
It has to
That's
be done
fine.
before.
No, but it's, yeah,
I
just
just get nervous
by
to
then.
like empty out any account.
Right,
You know
yeah,
what I mean?
yeah.
What if like something came up
I
tomorrow?
think 750 is good. I think that's
Yeah.
a good
Yeah, 'cause
number.
Mitch had said 500 and I was like, I don't know, I kind of.
So Mitch, can that money be used for like funding reserves, like the OPEB reserve? No, it can't.
Nope, it's got to go towards some type of facility or real estate need.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's pretty
Yeah.
limited.
And before there's a final withdrawal, we certainly would.
You've already officially voted. You're good. You're ready to go. Okay.
Before if the board did opt to do any withdrawal from it, we would of course run it one final time by DOR just to give it a final vet to verify, but
Right, the
yeah.
DOR is okay with it. Got it. Okay. Yeah, so tonight is just a vote of kind of support, and I thought it might be nice for the, you know, we put out a statement just saying all the different board, you know, because there have been so many kind of false starts, and then the whole last time we pulled it, because honestly, I feel like if we aren't all in favor, it's not worth going to town meeting.
Yeah. No, we have to be all.
Last time when FinCom was gonna stand up and say they didn't support it, I was like, what's the point?
Do we have the flexibility of at any point during this project, should grant money or other monies become available, we can use that and she just does rescinded borrowing at that point, correct? So-
Yeah, she only
So
borrows
it doesn't
what we
have to
need.
be
Yeah.
right up, we don't have to identify it up
No,
front.
because I think we need to
It
do
could be at
some
any point.
serious, honestly, even if we have to
Sure.
hire someone to look into.
Sure.
Well,
So
we have
so
that-
Weston and Sampson did look at this,
Okay.
and they do dozens of these, and they did not find any. That wouldn't stop us from looking.
Okay, great.
But they would have come across something that we would have applied to,
And it's in their best interest for us.
it would be in their best interest to, yeah.
Of course.
I think that
Yeah,
was
I just want to make
a
sure
year or
that we
two
don't-
ago, I think.
That we don't
Bruce,
leave any stones
How,
one turn.
how long do you perceive the duration of the project to be from first shovel in the ground? Joe, either one, I don't care.
When will it be shovel ready?
No, how long, first shovel hits the ground, what's the duration of the project?
It's almost a 2-year project, a year and a half.
I think, I'm trying to remember back, when we were looking at it, it would probably be 1 year with the equipment outside, but then they would be able to get it at least indoors.
I think that's the only part I'm struggling with, is the equipment inside. I mean, that adds exponentially to the or adds quite a bit to the square footage. Is it?
Vehicles inside is.
Right, that's what I'm talking about.
That's what it
Part of
is.
the project.
Hey, what?
That's the cheapest part of the project.
Okay.
Did you hear their numbers
Size
on
of
how
the
much that
building
saves
is
us?
not what costs.
On a 3-year on replenishing
It's
of
all
equipment, but.
Equipment. So it's kind of weird, because you would think the bigger the building, the more it costs. Well, that's true, but it's the cheapest part of the building, the process.
And it saves us hundreds of thousands of dollars over the lifetime of all the vehicles.
Extends the life of the vehicle.
Extends the life of the vehicles.
So what
right.
equipment would you keep inside there? I'm just curious. Like,
Basically, the diesel.
the diesel, so the diesels
Right
have
now,
a-
they're outside?
Well, we put in as much as we can fit, but, there's a combination of diesels and gas in there, I would
Doesn't
imagine.
all fit, but
how much would be left outside?
basically.
I guess that's
Let
the
me look
easier
and
way
see what the board
to
decided.
Basically, the
You
way
set
we
some
designed
guidelines.
that overhang on the
Yeah,
side
so I don't think
was
it's
for
any
your
public
gasoline
employee.
trucks and vehicles, so that they would be outside but not essentially getting snowed on or rained on and so forth. They would also have the ability to plug them in if you needed to and all that. And it's also designed in a way that if down the road you decided you needed to get them inside, you could get them inside and do it.
It's the only time the town
It's
is
a
there.
campaign, and
It's
it's
a
like
smart
a campaign.
design
I think
in
they
that
can be
sense,
rah-rah and
because
like,
they're giving
personally
as much as
support
they
it, but they
can
can't be
for
like
the
holding
small
signs,
installment.
printing
Because
flyers.
what I'm getting at is the questions that are going to come to me, and that did the last time.
Sure,
No,
some
let's-
use it
Can't
too
do
big.
any
Is it why
campaign
do you need all that
activity
space
while
inside? Is
you're
what
on
we're
the
going to hear.
job.
And I want to be able to
Yeah.
adequately and
I don't
eloquently
know,
explain that, so people understand the real need for it, the cost savings associated. That you pay a little up front, but you're going to save some down the road.
I can't help but laugh, because when we got into it, I remember people coming and complaining that it was a steel building. And, well, it's a steel building because that's the least expensive way to build a building. And so you also had the element in town that didn't like the fact that it was gonna be a steel building. They
I think
wanted it
people
to
on
be
boards
beautiful
can spread the word,
and all
but you
this and that.
can't be
So it-
holding a sign. Do you know what I mean?
I know
You
what
can't
you're
be
saying. I've heard
printing
it.
flyers
all
upstairs
directions
and handing
coming.
them
But
out.
the key is
So I think
to
it's in
make
general
sure
if you
that
get
we
the people leading it.
make the equipment last longer. And the real money is in all
Yeah,
of the
totally.
codes.
Yeah, it's just like any campaign, like a school override campaign.
Like, one of the things they're doing that I thought was
Yeah.
pretty clever is they're doing the heating in a way that it would only rise basically up to the engine blocks.
The current charge for the building committee, the current membership is
It's not going to be radiant, is it?
one DPW official, commissioner, or staff,
So it is.
one
radiant.
town
I've
operations
seen
person.
Weston Sampson designs that are radiant.
No, they can't. No, she asked the question of who's on the
How is this
facility
designed
committee.
now? Does your
no,
design
she
incorporate
means
radiant?
Oh, I'm sorry.
They haven't got to that
Right.
point, but
Right,
the
so you can
assumption
be
is it'll
supportive,
be
but you
typical
can't
to
like
what their
actively
other
campaign.
designs have been.
It's crazy. Yeah, sorry.
So that would be a cost savings going in the sense that you want to heat a huge building. You're doing it that way. Now, to the point, is it going to be cheaper than heat to that one? It's bigger. So, it's probably going to be pretty much a wash. That'd be my guess.
No.
I think that uncomplicates
But
it.
with the consensus that we know what the
We'll
amount is.
use that, right, we'll use that money to build for
Right, but
it.
just that we're not gonna come out and like, do you know what I mean? We all agree on what the amount, like what the general amount is. Okay. Lorene, are you guys good? Great. Okay, let's
Reconvene.
reconvene.
So the finance committee just met and discussed it, DPW project. We voted to support the DPW project.
To support the project.
We voted to,
There we
to
go.
support the DPW project.
Great. Okay, great. And Bruce is a party of one tonight, so.
But I can say this, that, you know, what, Jim is, you know, his desire will be to support this as well. So, you know, when we convene,
When you
the next
convene, you
time,
can just officially vote and
we'll
then,
officially
because I do think it's really important that we're
Everyone's
all
on
on the
the
same
same
page
page,
moving
yep.
forward.
Pretty
Because
good.
obviously, the resident taxpayers come to us, they come to the people who look to all this, and I think the
and
more
once we get our
often-
third member,
Once you get your third member, you can reconvene again.
yeah.
Is there a motion from the selectmen to support the DPW facility project?
Sure, I can make that. I move that the Board of Selectmen support the DPW facility, including the payment of an article on the fall town meeting
Skip that for now, right?
on, we need to put
So
that right in.
including the placement.
Oh, placement, oh, okay, got it.
The
Okay, great,
placement
sorry.
of the article in the fall town meeting of September 9th, 2019.
Seconded.
Great, motion has been made and seconded. Any further comments from the board? No, Carrie, this is so super helpful, thank
Yep,
you.
very.
Thank you very much.
All those anything else? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries, great. Mitch, do you want to talk a little bit about, we won't get into it tonight, but a little bit about who can actually do like the nuts and bolts work on
Sure.
a campaign like this? It's awkward to say campaign, but that's actually what it is.
Mhm. So the Office of Campaign and Political Finance has an advisory
Yeah.
that governs to what level public officials and employees is the definition we utilize for the ethics requirements, boards, committees, commissions, employees, etc. And it's very restrictive on who can be involved. So it basically boils down to full and free access is for those who are not associated fully with the town right now, not on a board, committee, commission, not an employee right now. It is restrictive and problematic. I had previously discussed it with council, and they had said the advisory is very clear, that they've been very consistent. OCPF has been very consistent in their oversight of that. So it whittles the pool down quite a bit to who can participate.
Right. And
Elected
obviously
officials
we can all
have
be
a
supportive of it, but we can't be,
correct.
making
Elected
flyers
officials
and-
have the
right.
ability to be slightly more vocal than anybody else,
Right.
but that's even limited as well.
Okay, great. And then I think I said it while we were all talking, but do you guys just want to state again that you voted unanimously to support the project?
We have you voted unanimously on many occasions.
10 times.
Yeah, really.
I think we got a pretty good consensus.
Yep, perfect.
Great.
Okay, so that's clear. So next steps,
So next step, the warrant closes on the 16th. We will, the article's already written. We'll use the one that was previously put forward. And then at that point, the board will also, certainly need to place it on the warrant. And then the board will need to make a determination at that time as well, what it would like to do about an election. So, there'll certainly be a recommendation from Building Study regarding a specific date. The town clerk has indicated she needs 5 weeks, so that makes it fall on October.
15th, and we did ask her, now we held it on October 15th, which is exactly 5 weeks. Is that sufficient? And she said, as long as it's 5 weeks, it's sufficient.
okay, now, could it be if we recruit people to work on this campaign, that they could attend a building study committee meeting to get facts and information, like everything to use? Is that proper?
Yes, that's what I'm recommending, that we hold a meeting
Okay.
and invite interested parties to attend and go over all of the relevant information and the resources available.
It might be another joint meeting like this, honestly, so that we all get the same information.
yeah.
Does that make sense? Does that
Yep.
sound good? Mitch, would that make sense?
It would, yes, certainly.
Okay.
Conveying the information out to folks
Yeah.
on the facts is certainly fine.
Okay.
Once it gets to taking the stance or advocating, then it would transfer over to somebody else. I'm not sure. It sounds like a fax machine.
Somebody have
The dial-up.
dial-up?
Yeah.
Wow.
Dial-up, wow.
America Online, right? That's where I went.
But in terms of, for example, the commissioners holding an open house and being up there with poster boards that display the facts and figures of the the
fine.
project
Mhm.
and
That's
the
fine, I think.
conditions,
Yep, that's all fine.
just-
Yep,
Correct.
yep, they
It-
just can't be standing there with also holding a sign saying like, vote yes on
yes.
question one.
Yeah, as I understand the rules, we can answer questions and address concerns. We just can't really do the politicking.
Yeah, yeah,
And respond to letter to the editors and things of that nature as well.
yeah, but I do think it would make sense to
can,
have
you can.
another joint meeting so that we're all on the
Yeah.
same page,
The-
and
uh,
finance committee is on
Council-
the same page as well. Does that make sense to everybody?
Yeah, and try to encourage people to come if they're interested in supporting it,
Right.
maybe out to the public.
So we
Yeah.
could,
Yeah.
you're good, okay.
Toby, did you
We
have a
could.
question?
I have several comments and a question. Toby Arsen, 95 Granite Street. Mentioned
Toby, why don't you go up to the microphone so we can hear it? If you're gonna talk, let everybody hear it at home, please. Thank you.
Toby Arsenian, 95 Granite Street. Mentions were made of what it would cost on the tax rate, and of course, the median is the right figure. When you talk about what it's going to cost, Kerry's projections going forward, someone mentioned schools, but no one followed through on that. I'm all in favor of the project, but you don't want to be guilty of misrepresenting the cost to the voters. And if you're going to be asking at the following Springtown meeting for an override for the schools, which undoubtedly you are, that needs to be out there as part of the picture. Also, I would think that if you're talking about putting articles on the warrant for the fall town meeting, you'd make the decision now on how much you're going to take out of the land bank. And, that seems a perfectly reasonable way of using, the money, a building being permanent, almost as permanent as land itself. But, when you talk about selling other parcels to, replenish the land bank, many people feel strongly on the subject, and you're shooting yourself in the foot. And also, you have no right to count on those funds, because those require town meeting votes. So would you take a vote to withdraw whatever, or approve withdrawing whatever you're planning to withdraw from the land bank? And would you be sure, going forward, that you make it clear what you'll be asking for the schools? Also, I'd like to note that
No, we don't know
We
yet.
don't know that.
Hasn't-
in
we haven't met-
2022, but
we
it's
don't
a
know yet.
substantial sum in
haven't
the
come to us.
offing.
No,
We have
we
no
don't,
idea.
we have
How do
no
we-
idea. We have not started discussing that yet.
And in 2022, on the capital improvement list, you've got a seawall for 25 million. And if you're serious about that, people have to be told that as well. I repeat, I'm in favor of it, but I'm not in favor of deceiving people in any way.
Okay, so,
Nor are we.
right,
There's no deceit. We have to buy a few staplers too, but we don't know we don't know what these costs are gonna be right now.
right. But, I think we've decided to, in the next few weeks, I think we'll discuss how much money we're gonna take out of that fund. And
Correct.
vote on
It-
that separately,
yes.
but that doesn't have to be decided tonight,
No,
so,
premature.
yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Monica?
At what point will we have some real figures on the impact on the tax rate?
I would say once the determination is made on if there's any drawdown from the sale of real estate, so that we know what the exact amount would
So
be.
why don't we do that we have a meeting, our next regular meeting's the 16th,
Correct.
right? So why don't we do that on the 16th? So, because honestly, time is, that's middle of July.
Mhm.
So,
The materials that that we're revising have that figure in it. It's a critical figure, so we can't really finish that.
So we will, when we work up the numbers, we'll go through a couple of drawdown options and then make the assessment, change what the impact would be based on that. So we'll do 255, 759. That way you have
that makes
some
sense.
options to
Okay.
look at.
that
Okay,
makes sense.
that's good.
Otherwise, I agree with you, but yeah, if we're gonna get,
And just to be
Yeah.
done with it.
okay, that makes sense, because Dawn said should we just vote on that tonight, but I think if we're gonna get how it affects
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
different ways, I
Right.
think that makes sense to
Yep,
just wait.
it does.
Just one clarification
Sure.
on that. If, let's say, your appraisals for real estate tax purposes go up at the same time, that would also provide you another leverage to not have to raise the cost per thousand, in this first example, of 49 cents, right? Optimistically, over the course of the loan, to Toby's point, we have a lot of projects, but if the appraised values of the properties keep going up, that's going to help to ease some of that cost per thousand for properties. And if the median is skewed to the higher value properties anyway, I would think that that's pretty good leverage.
Okay. Good point, yeah. Okay, so I think on the 16th, we will decide, we'll put that on the agenda. Carrie will pull together some more information. And then we should schedule the joint meeting as soon as we can pull some people in.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, there is a group already.
Is
There are
there?
some interested
There are
folks.
some
and
interested folks?
While,
Okay.
folks can certainly encourage others to do that, they do have to, they have their own outside group, so there's no appointment, there's no anything official. It's more of, folks could be encouraged to contact the
Yeah.
people who are currently already interested.
Okay. And somebody can give us that name.
Yep.
Okay.
Melvin George.
Perfect. That'd be funny if he popped in the room.
Yeah, he and Fall Center.
Great. I feel like huge progress. I
Yep.
feel like,
Thank you.
you know, simplicity and like we've all known the need. We know
Yep.
what the town needs, but I think it's really important that we took this step tonight and
Yeah.
are kind of
Yeah.
moving the project forward.
Have all groups together.
appropriately.
Yep, absolutely.
Any other comments or questions from this? Anyone? Anyone? Carl? Anyone?
I thought I was up for reappointment tonight, but you can take a vote now if you want.
Yeah.
Okay, then I think we're good.
Great.
At the joint meeting, when will you decide on that?
Well, I just want to make sure we have enough people. I think maybe one of us will be in touch with Mel George. And, you know, I think as soon as they have enough people to kind of get moving on it, then we'll do that, like whatever works for everyone, right? I mean, sooner rather than later, right?
Yeah.
Town meeting is
The 9th.
a little more than 2 months away, craziness, but it is what it is. Great, so we'll be, I think,
You can call them the barnstormers.
right, yeah. Great, okay,
Thank you.
awesome, thanks so much. Great,
you.
thank you,
Thank
everybody.
you.
Thank you.
I'm gonna run to ladies, but I think Robin may be for the education.
She is, Robin's for that. Do you know what anyone else is here for? No, I'm gonna check, okay.
That what they do in the fire hydrant?
I don't know, maybe we'll.
Oh, okay. Oh.
I just want to see what people are here for in case it's Robin, you're here for the Ed Foundation. Okay. Leslie, are you here for something specific? Just here for general enjoyment? Fabulous. Are you here for something specific? Firehouse Trust? Okay.
Mitch.
She's not. She works in the office upstairs. So she's okay. Oh, great. Oh, that's on the agenda. Is it, yeah.
Is there anything that we need to?
Yeah, why don't we just do that?
Get it done.
Yeah, we'll do it right now. As soon as she comes back from the bathroom. Yeah, this would be good.
One more time he rolled, and it could have been a lot worse. If it's just one more time, I don't know how many times he did roll.
In a bad rollover before.
I've never been a roller.
I was pregnant. It was honestly terrible.
I'm just glad that he's okay. Oh,
I still have like nightmares.
yeah, I can imagine.
Should we do Robin really quickly? Honestly, I don't think Robin's gonna
Do the two articles.
Yeah.
Both quick.
Would you guys mind if we just did two other things really quick? Okay, thanks. Do you guys mind if we do 30 Long Beach and the Ed Foundation quickly? Okay, great.
There are no year-end transfers, by the way, for you
Oh,
folks.
there aren't. Okay, perfect.
Mitch, what's my fill-in here?
We'll find out, I don't know
Let's
yet.
do 30 Long Beach quickly. Would somebody like to make a motion?
Sharing is caring.
Great.
Thank you.
I move that the board grant permission to Frank Abram of Rockport Builders to continue remodeling the interior of 30 Long Beach as described in an email dated June 14th, 2019, and approved by the building inspector.
Second?
Great.
No objection from the building inspector, no objection from the office.
Great. Are you Frank?
I am.
Great. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you all
Um,
too. Thanks.
Great. So, just 30 seconds.
30 seconds. They underwent a fire Labor Day weekend last year.
Right.
The refrigerator sparked the whole house.
Right.
I went in, tried to take care of it. Every time I tore something apart, it extended itself, it extended itself, it extended itself. So basically, I reframed the house from the inside out.
Got it.
All my exterior work is done for the most part. I'll leave that alone till after beach season.
Okay,
They're
cool.
weather tight, they're fine.
Great.
But I want to just continue for the next couple days. I'll stop before the 4th, no problem. But I have to give them plumbing, I have to give them a kitchen.
You don't want
I
to
have
work on the
give
4th?
I usually do. But not on the beach, I don't want to get shot. So I just need to get them functional so they can enjoy their beach house.
Great.
And then I'll come back after the smoke clears.
Great. Totally
Bad-
understood.
bad,
yeah.
Bad analogy.
Yeah.
Great.
I get it.
Any questions or comments
Sun
from the
goes away,
board?
yeah.
None. Sounded
That's
fine.
it.
Any comments or questions?
No,
Nope.
go to work.
Fine with it.
Great.
luck.
All
Thank
those in
you.
favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Good luck. Thank you. Great, Robin. Let's wait on this motion till Robin tells us what they want to do, and then.
I'm Robin Crocker. I'm on the board of the Education Foundation for Rockport, and we wanted to propose a fundraising event for the 4th of July. We would like to have a hot dog cart at Dock Square selling all like pre-cooked items. So we're not going to be actually cooking anything on site. We're just going to be heating the hot dogs. It's going to be chips. It's going to be cookies. It's going to be sodas and cans. My husband has done the food and beverage for Salem Country Club for the last 15 years. I've done this food at the Yacht Club for the last 10 years. We're both Serve Safe certified, so we know how to properly handle and store and prepare food. We're coming to ask for your blessing.
Great. And just so the board knows, several of the restaurants in town are going to be closed on the 4th, so they've kind of asked for additional,
Wow.
additional kind of
Have we made an
truck
appeal to
something.
keep anybody open? I mean, it's one of those days that the town is packed. I can't
We've,
imagine.
They've actually said to us, like, find food trucks, because
We-
some
yeah.
of them just don't.
We've
wanna
tried, and
open.
for several of the larger ones are closing. It's
Vacation.
it's a
for, like,
vacation
it's
for
a
them. It's a
holiday.
family thing for them.
Yeah.
They give everybody the time off.
So,
So
and then
win-win.
I know that the Firemen's Association has this year outsourced a vendor to sell hot dogs, popcorn, and I forget what else. Like
Usually
that
fried
type of
dough,
thing,
that type of
at
issue.
Back Beach, because the crowd has gotten so big there that they've had trouble handling it. So now they've outsourced that. So Mitch and I just had discussed that. I think that kind of Dock Square or the Congregational Church is kind of as close as we
spot.
would
Correct.
want to
Yep.
get
Correct.
to the back to
Yep.
Back Beach.
Yep.
And what would be the
fine.
start and end times?
We would place the cart there before the parade started so that we're not trying to get through once
Okay.
the streets have been blocked off.
Okay.
And someone will be there. We'll start serving after the parade. Our thoughts were the parade's at 5, so 6 to 8 maybe serving food.
Parade starts at 6.
The parade starts at 6, so 7 to 9 selling food. So
Honestly, I would go if you have the inventory, people like as soon as the bonfire ends are even looking for food.
Yeah.
Remember the like barrage of
There was a
hundreds
House
of
of
people.
Pizza.
The
House of Pizza did great.
The line. I mean,
went.
they would. I don't think they're ever not going to have enough business. That's why I'm okay to like support other stuff. But the line was up the street for the House of Pizza as soon as the bonfire ended. Yes, because everyone with starving kids after the parade, they go to the bonfire, and then the kids are like, "What's for dinner?" And you're like, "Well, we had dinner at 5 o'clock."
And then they ran out. Sadly, I
ran
think that
out.
was the biggest issue. They ran out at Back Beach.
Yeah, they ran out at Back Beach. So
this is our initial year. I'm going to guess we're going to start conservatively just so that we aren't left with a lot of product that we don't have a use for. But if it goes really well this year, then absolutely we would increase what we would do
great. So
next year.
should we say 9:30?
Sure. So yes.
How about if we say
9:30?
9:30 and then you can do what you can close when you want? Does that make
Okay.
sense?
So give me
So-
the after the includes part.
So I'll if I can offer a
Yeah,
motion for you
please.
to consider.
Please.
So, Madam Chair, I would suggest a proper motion be moved that the Board of Selectmen approve the Education Foundation's fundraising event on July 4th, 2019, which would include selling food at Dock Square from 7 p.m. to 9:30 p.m., subject to the appropriate Board of Health permits.
Second.
Great. Motion has been made and seconded. Any further comments?
None.
All good? Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Make lots of money for the Ed Foundation.
Thanks, Robin.
Great. Okay, Firehouse Trusts. Sorry for the delay.
Okay, a bit of a switching of gears here. It has been a little bit of time now, a couple of months since we had put our focus on the old Firehouse Trust. But at the time, we did make a lot of overtures. We spoke with people from the Rockport Exchange, spoke with Michelle Brown. I attended a meeting of the Rockport Cultural District and said we were looking at the old Firehouse Trust building, and if anyone had any opinions on the future of that building, please to let us know. So we tried to do some outreach, and we've mentioned it at other meetings as well. So I think we did get some good input from a variety of people, and quite frankly, during the process of looking into it and considering how what the town should do with it, it really became obvious to me personally that this is a building that is of great importance to the people of the town. You see posts on Facebook. Who do I get in touch with about the old Firehouse Trust building? Is it available? Who do I talk to? We heard the schools come in and ask if it would be available for the Rockport Schools Give Back Day. So there are so.
You're right.
Both shoes.
I'm gonna leave in a minute.
Yeah.
As we had these conversations and just observed the spontaneous requests for the building that pop up from all different quarters, it became more and more clear to us as a committee that this is almost an iconic building for the town. But in the location where it is, you step into that building and you have the view of the motif which represents the town to the world, not just to the people of Rockport. And there is no more spectacular sight than stepping into that building and looking out to the view of the harbor. And as we looked into potential uses for the building, if you assume we want to try to keep the building, well, what kinds of uses would you put it to? It has been used in a lease situation by the Rockport Exchange and maybe one or two other groups. But as we thought about it, there really is just a whole scope of uses. You could continue to lease it out. You could use it for availability for events that would generate revenue. But basically, most important, it gives the town a downtown presence. The town does not have a town-owned building in the downtown area that gives the town a base of operations, shall we say. The closest building is the library, I think, and that's not downtown. So this really would provide something that is a presence for the town, aside from the restrooms, which is hardly a selling point, really.
Unless you need them.
Yeah, unless you need it. And we do have a small visitor center, but that's to promote the businesses and the restaurants. And this building is not viewed as serving that purpose. This is not a substitute or a new Chamber of Commerce building. This is a building that is for the town of Rockport. It could be a welcome center for people who would like to stop in, get their bearings, what is there to see and do in Rockport, at the start of the tours that take place rather than out in Dock Square itself. It could serve as a base of operations for many of the special programs that we have in town, a place where the Earth Day could have something set up, the Art Week. We have a big Art Week now around the plein air. The Rockport Schools Give Back Day certainly could be put into use, motif number 1 day. The garden club has tours, they could have a little stand in there selling tickets for their garden tours, etc.
Endless.
I'm sure the July 4th parade, if this was a building that was available, people would be stepping up to use it for all of the big town-sponsored events that we have in town. Millbrook Meadow has their wreath sales and are always looking for a place downtown where they can do that. Christmas in Rockport, surely, with all the visitors coming in, would be nice to have a place where people can go as a welcome center to get their bearings and find out what's going on where. Certainly Rockport New Year's Eve, on which I serve as the board, we would love to have that available as an entertainment venue. We also thought of course, it could serve as meeting space for town committees. We certainly have a great need for meeting space in the town, and this could certainly serve that purpose. In other words, we think of it as a downtown community house. We see how popular the community house is, and there are endless uses for it. You can't always project what the uses are. But this would be a downtown community house.
Great.
And we also felt it would be, could be a space for the police department to have a little base of operations. And I've spoken, Michelle first mentioned that, spoke with Mitch about it, and
The chief is very interested in
Police
that.
would be very interested in that, when they have their officers downtown, to be able to have a place that they could stop in and sit down for a few minutes or whatever. You could, in connection with the art events, you could have an artist demonstration. You could have some children's activities in there. So there really are endless and countless uses for that building. So we really feel that we can't see any other option for the town than holding on to that building, because it is a historic treasure. It showcases Rockport in a way that nothing else does, and it contributes to a positive experience for people in the town, because when they come downtown, they're really a little bit adrift, and this is a good place to stop in and get their bearings and get some good information about the town that gives them a positive experience, and that's what we try to promote. We want people to come back, we want them to consider living here, so this just gives us a place where we can promote the whole benefits of Rockport. And when you think about it, yes, it will cost money to rehabilitate that building, but this is the type of project for which grant money is available. And we have no doubt that we would be able, we as a committee, that would not be our charge to look into the grant, at least I hope not, because we have more than enough on our plate, but Mitch assured us it would not.
Yes, and just to add to that particular point, we've just done some initial inquiries to see what options there. Certainly, I think that one of the biggest ones is CPC.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
think bottom line, that is right out of the gate, we would look for that.
Yep.
The other one is Mass Cultural Council
Right.
operates a facilities fund. And we've had some very basic discussions just to see if they felt that this could be an option down the road if we opted to go that route, and it fits perfectly into what that fund is used for.
Great.
So looking at, we all know it needs a lot of work.
Right.
Between CPC and between the use of the MCC fund, there are some significant financial options available to the town for that.
So what about the maintenance costs after the fact? That's money that needs to be realized as well. So I didn't see anything here that addressed that.
We really can only do so much in looking at this, and we see that there would be potential for revenue. There would be people who would want to rent that
I was going to
space.
say, I have had so many people approach me in terms of renting it, and I know we keep costs extraordinarily low for the community house, partially because it is CPC money,
Right.
and you don't want to double dip.
Right.
But
In that location.
But that location adds a different type of value, so I could see
Yeah.
charging more for event, you know what I mean, more for events, because, honestly, like, I do event planning, rehearsal dinners, tiny weddings, dinner parties, that type of thing. it's kind of a hands.
I would say that the ongoing expenses, just as a very rough comparison, would be somewhat similar to the community house. The standard things that we have for most of our buildings, we've got, the fire extinguishers, you've got the elevator maintenance, you've got the general things that go through
We're talking
electric.
about a property that's on the ocean, which requires a higher level of maintenance than something else, and that's the concern I have, is that when we get a property and we have something, we tend to put the money in after the fact to rehabilitate it, rather than maintain it going through, and that's my concern.
We have not done any budgetary.
I understand
Well,
that,
the
and I'm not
town-
putting it on
The town
you.
couldn't, but to be fair, the town hasn't, the building was leased to the
Yeah, that's
Firehouse
Right.
Trust
No,
for
I
several years,
understand.
so in some respects, we didn't even have good enough access to see what it needed, and unfortunately, for that reason, it.
Well, I didn't read the lease, but I have to imagine there was something in there that allowed us, as the owner of the building, to take care of whatever needed to be done to keep it structurally sound. And that's the concern I have going forward, is that if we do decide to keep it, that that the maintenance issues are identified, and we know basically what it's going to need on somewhat of a schedule. Now, I know you don't want to have that right now.
No, that's that
Sure,
becomes
so,
DPW.
I would say that would then become an operations budget issue, and then incumbent through the CPC process, CIPC process for larger scale items, but it would end up with, just thinking very quickly here, it would end up with a line in the public properties budget with DPW, just like the police station has, the Legion has, the community house has. It would end up functionally being treated the same way.
And Mitch, we've had a conversation, as you see that, like the community house.
I do.
Being a space that there is a staff person there. So whether it's.
It would be treated similar to what we do with the community house, where there's a facility manager.
Yeah, and
That somebody
they're- I
books
mean,
it and somebody
yeah,
handles.
They're awesome.
We would look at something like
Yeah.
that.
So you would have that daily oversight of
Right.
the
Right.
conditions and be able to get that
Right.
attended
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
more quickly. And then, likewise, you look at, all right, what, if we were to just disregard all the benefits to the town and think in terms of generating money, so we sell that building. And what do we get when we sell that building? $1 million, $1.5 million even, may sound, that's a drop in the bucket, and then it's gone. You're losing this precious resource that is so valuable year in and year out, and that revenue you get from the sale of that building is gone within a year, basically. So it'd be such a tremendous loss.
June, did you have a comment?
Yes, I have a question. How long does the Firehouse Trust lease go? I know it was a fairly long lease.
It's been turned back.
It's been turned back.
It's in the
It's
town's
done.
Yeah.
custody now.
Back in
Yes.
the-
It's done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have no intent of renewing the lease
No,
No, they turned it over.
They turned it over.
by the town?
Yeah.
Yes, they turned it back over. I think, was it early?
Yes, it was early, maybe a year or so ago.
Yeah,
I
a
think it
year or
was.
so
ago.
before it ended.
It was a
Yeah.
30-year lease, wasn't it?
It was.
Yeah.
What kind of restrooms does it have? I mean, if I went to a welcome center,
It needs all of that. It doesn't,
Well,
it doesn't
We'll need
have,
handicap
you know.
accessible ones,
Right.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
It's got the basics. I think like some of the other buildings, that would be something that would have to be evaluated. I think it follows a very, very close parallel to the rehab process that the community house went through.
Yeah, I
think
mean, this
that
is
could
our
be applied
first
to it.
discussion about
Yeah.
it, so I don't,
So what you do to rehabilitate it would depend on what your projected use would be.
Right.
You probably can't both have a permanent welcoming center with
Right.
displays and exhibits and also rent it out to people for extended periods.
exactly, exactly.
well, you could
Well,
have
there's
it as a
upstairs.
function facility. We're
Upstairs.
not
it's 2 floors.
envisioning, exhibits that are taking up floor space. You might have some, photographs, historic
Historical
photographs on the walls. But I think you want that space on the first floor to be flex space, to make it, usable for a variety of purposes.
I'm sure an architect, Kate, could design something really nice for that space. I know you're in retirement, but considering what you're,
Well,
what you
Kate,
plan for
if you
upstairs
don't
here.
know, her specialty was what, Kate?
Historic preservation,
Yeah.
so, as you know.
Surprise!
I think also it's a perfect place for Rockporters to use in the winter because there's downtown parking there. Summer, it's more of other uses, but fall, winter, early spring, Rockporters, that would be a beautiful place for a family get-together or a shower or things like that with a beautiful, and those kind of things. And also I think, I just think of it as in Gloucester, if there was a building in front of the statue on the boulevard, the fisherman's statue, they would have preserved that building and kept it as part of Gloucester. That's what we need to do with Rockport. That is our symbol. It's on every single Rockport item, is the motive. And another thing I think, when we do this, we should put some of those things where you could go in and look out and be able to see further, that they have on the boulevard, those big
like the viewfinders?
yeah, the big things
outside.
there that you could see out past, and it would be beautiful. It's such a beautiful building.
It really is, and I didn't appreciate it myself until I stepped inside, and that window, it's like looking out Shaolin Loop, but this is better.
It is.
because
You're in
it's-
like a fishbowl. Yeah, it's crazy in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree with what you said, Monica, that if you sell it, and I'm going to be honest with you, I came in here with inclined to say, I think we should really consider selling the building, okay? Now, based upon what I've heard, I like all the ideas that I've heard. I like the direction that it's going. However, it needs to be run like a business, and it needs to be something that generates its own revenue to support itself. And rather than going back to the taxpayers all the time to do this, I mean, grant money is one thing, I get that, but it should be run as a business, as should any other town building that generates some sort of revenue, and it should be looked at from that angle. So, I mean, nothing in here that I see really supports itself to a permanent spot in there. It would be hard to build that out for one and keep the rest of the space for something else unless you were splitting the floors or what have you. But I think that if it's looked at in a business sense, that it generates the revenue that it should and can become somewhat self-supportive, I could support something like that.
Well, the building study, we approached it, we did what we thought we were expected to do, which was to assess the building and the potential uses and the benefits to the town. We did not come up with a full budget schedule for the money.
Well, right, and that's not
And
what.
that wasn't your
right.
charge.
Honestly,
I didn't
that's
expect
on
you to.
us. Right, that's
No,
on us.
I'm just speaking out loud. That's
yeah, that's on us, not you.
But I think you can make a good case for it. I think the rental income from small scale functions, and we have some of the recreation department classes right now that are always looking for more space. Fitness classes are always looking for more space. So there is potential, and those are revenue generating. So I think there is a great potential. The second floor, that I think we view that as probably being office and storage space, and potentially, for example, there might be some small groups in town, like the Exchange, that would pay rent. Small rent, but could pay rent as they do now to use that building. And I think we have a lot of small nonprofits that operate out of people's homes, and maybe there could be a collaborative arrangement to have some office space that generates rental income for the town as well.
Yeah.
For our small community nonprofits.
Yeah. It's interesting, when I was first on the board and we were locked into the lease, I think it was a 30-year lease, was it?
Yes.
And, I had people approach me all the time, how do I rent it? And it was, if you didn't know a member of the trust, it was practically impossible. I don't even think I went in it for years unless you were invited to an exclusive event and kind of as time has gone on, and the more people have asked me, so many people live here, not many of us live right on the water, right? Have access to the harbor, and it's one of the rare public spots now that is on the harbor. It's a beautiful, when you go in, you're like, oh my goodness. I mean, my son, Rockport Music did like a musical instrument, like try out musical instruments once, like 2 Harvest Fests ago or something, and both my kids went in there and like fell in love with musical instruments while you're looking at the motif. It's like, really? But I also now, like in my other life doing event planning stuff, see the value, and people desperately want to do small, I mean, and large scale events, but there isn't really a large scale function facility here. And that is like prime location for that.
It's
I
prime
mean,
for as a community building. For
Yeah.
So many uses.
yeah, I mean, I'm more inclined, not to create another chamber of commerce, but to create a more flexible space that can be used for, when we have when the town hosts a party for something or other people rent it out. I think it's kind of endless.
And I know Michelle Brown has a lot of ideas as well. Speaking of the chamber, we specifically do not want this to be
Yeah.
co-opted. But the chamber has their little building across the street, and there are plans in the works for total rehabilitation of Harvey Park and that little park, whatever it is called.
Barletta.
Yes, Barletta Park. And that whole area can be upgraded as a little cultural center. You can have music in the park there, and so it all ties together. You've got the
Yeah.
town's community building, you're welcoming visitors there, you have the chamber information and maybe some other activities going on right across the street, so it becomes a central hub for all of the activities of the town that
Yeah.
really
Yeah. No, definitely.
represent
Yeah.
Rockport.
One more quick point is, I think this is just kind of the older I get, I realize that once, if you have a piece of property or something special, once you sell it, it's gone.
It's gone, and
You
you have
know,
very
there it
little to
is.
show for it. That
Right.
$1 million,
Right.
You're not going to remember where that $1 million
Right.
went.
Yeah.
It's just gone, but
Yeah,
you're
it's
sure going to
gone.
remember that you don't have that building anymore.
Yeah, and more seaside towns, there's less and less public space, obviously. So, interesting.
Yep.
Did you have a comment on this?
Yes, I attended a poetry reading in the trust room, and the ambience in the room is wonderful with the harbor and the light.
Yeah, it's great.
And the antique dimensions. It's a charming space, and I think you can't replicate that
No, you really
in
cannot.
any modern construction. So I think it's a jewel that it would be a shame, and you can, the functions will happen if it's available.
Great.
And in terms of the rehabilitation, I suppose this is kind of an irrelevant point, but we've learned that in a building like that, no matter what the level of rehabilitation you need to do, you will not have to put it up on stilts. There is.
It's in the historic district.
Yeah, it's in the historic district,
buildings
so
in
we
the
don't have to
historic
worry about that expense or that kind of action, which would destroy the whole streetscape, yeah.
And it would be nice to feature that it was the first lockup, and all the old history and things from the historical society that they could put on the walls there of the whole
Be
history
super
of the
cool.
building,
Yeah.
because it is really
Super cool.
iconic. Rockport.
Yeah. Jeff, did you want to make a comment?
I was just going to say that it can get lost in the summertime when people just walk right by it.
Right.
Yeah.
But to whoever said the point about winter usage, and to your point about small groups, it could really stand out
Yeah.
in November, December, January,
Yeah. When there's
block
plenty
parties,
of parking down
when
there.
there's plenty of
Right.
parking,
Yeah.
not a lot of traffic,
Yeah.
and here's a warm hearth to sit in and
Yeah.
be there.
Yeah.
I mean, for those, I'm pretty new to the town. For those who don't know, for full-time residents, but I've been coming here for many, many summers. And what strikes me is the number of people who come back after living here as youths and going away and coming back and really marveling at what they have. If you continue to unmarvel the town by removing these kinds of gems for short-term reasons or risk reasons, I would suggest that maybe what we ought to do as a town is more aggressively figure out what to do with the restaurant on the other side of the wharf to figure out before that becomes like the building center in Gloucester. So I tried to say a lot of things in one sentence, but it all makes sense if you just think about
Oh,
it.
understood, yeah. Okay. Okay, so I'll let Toby comment, and then we should probably move on. I think tonight it was just a
Discussion.
discussion from
Correct.
building
Yep,
study.
that's fine, that's
which I-
fine. That's great, thank you, everyone.
Obviously, like,
Thank you.
we continue to thank you, but please know that it's genuine for all,
Great
for all
job.
of your hard work. And we'll see you again in just a few weeks to continue working on,
You'll let her know, and then
DPW.
you'll let us know?
Yeah.
Something?
Toby, question, comment? Thanks, June.
I would hope that before you go to community preservation or to ask for state grants, you come up with whatever formula you're going to have for how much of it's going to be for events and how much of it is going to be rented. And when it comes to renting town property, I'm not speaking of events, I think you need a policy. I've said this before. So some groups are favored as being in the public interest. You cited the Rockport Exchange. That would be a matter of opinion. But wherever you're renting a town building for anything that is not the market rate, and I think you need to make an attempt in every case to be sure what the market rate would be. And in any case where it's not the market rate, there needs to be a public statement as to why this group is deserving of this consideration and what public benefit there is, from taking a rent that is not the market.
Okay, I think you're jumping way ahead, but understanding your point of view on it. Thanks. Okay, anyone else on this for tonight?
I'm good for
Nope.
now.
Great.
Thank you.
Great, thank
very
you
much.
guys so much. Nice to see you. I think that's it. Is that it for tonight? Holy moly. Mitch, you
That's it.
no year-end transfers?
No year-end transfers.
Wow, amazing. Thanks, Carrie. Thanks, Eileen. Do it.
Second.
All those in favor
Aye.
say aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries.